Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And in this video, we're going to actually get into something that I think is very important and ends up not only showing a lot about a person's character, but in addition to that, is it the importance of it is bigger than what we think, and we don't realize how big of a deal this is. And today's topic is, why is it important to have real hobbies? And I say real hobbies because a lot of times as people we we don't really have real hobbies. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people out there who don't have real hobbies. So if you ask someone, what's your hobbies, what's your interest, you have a lot of them who will probably sometimes say things like, well, I like going shopping, I like vacation. This can be for men and women. I like going shopping, I like going on vacation, I like going out to eat. These are not hobbies. And anything else that you could think of that's similar to that, these are not hobbies. These are things that everybody would enjoy and requires an exorbitant amount of money. Um, yes, these hobbies. Sorry, I had a little pause for a moment, but these type of things are just on a whole nother level when it comes to being able to maintain them. That's not a hobby. You know what I mean? Yeah, a hobby is not something where you have to had that much money to sustain. I'm not saying that hobbies don't require money, but at the same time too, these are things that are just they're over the top. You can't go on vacation every week. Some people can, but that's not normal. So we're talking about the normal person. And I guess in that regards, I'm gonna then say hobbies based on a price range or whatever can be determined by how much an individual makes. So in that regard, I guess I would have to say that this could differ for some people. So if you're one of those people who have a couple $1 million, maybe traveling is your hobby. But we're talking about the average person. We're talking about just the average regular person, 9 to 5er, who they're like, okay, I have some money for some fun, but I can't go crazy all the time. Things like travel, things like eating out every night. First off, eating is in itself is not a hobby. It's something that you have to do. You have to consume food. So that's not a hobby. Shopping is not a hobby either because the act of buying things is just simply um, spending money. It's not the hobby would be what it is that you're buying, and is it something that maybe you're buying to collect? You can't just say spending money. Shopping is a hobby. That's not a hobby. So sometimes when people say that, that doesn't even really apply. And then obviously, like I said, things like traveling doesn't really make sense either because when it comes to that in itself is you could kind of say it's a hobby, but I mean if you have the money for it, but you get what I'm saying. It's you're not going to be something that you're going to do every week. So with that being said, people need to have real hobbies because I'm already stretching things out so long already with this video, but people need to have real hobbies because one, it's a reflection on the kind of person that you are. It's going to set the tone or the pace on if you're able to be stable. This comes into play when people retire and they don't know what to do with themselves when they retire because they had no hobbies. And two, it comes into play when it comes to relationships because when you are in a relationship, the more you're the type who can't sit still because you can't enjoy something at home that you get into, whether it's collecting something, maybe it's certain things you like reading, maybe it's like certain things you like doing, maybe you like, I don't know, collecting little things, model cars, maybe little trinkets, whatever it is, maybe you like to build things, construction, puzzles, whatever any kind of thing you could think of that you could do at home. Um, that sets you at pace to be that kind of type who's like, I could be at home with someone, I can have a partner, and that person is sitting across the table. Maybe they're in the same room with me, and I'm doing my own thing. I'm doing my hobby, and I'm at peace. Whereas when that's not the way that you operate, you don't have a hobby like that. You're either constantly putting that attention to nag that person in some way or another because you you don't have a sense of self through your hobbies. Your hobbies is kind of what makes you who you are because it's your interest. Some people think that who they are is their job, and that's not, because a lot of times our job is a requirement. Now, you could have a job. Some of us, or the rare occasions, have a job that embodies what we would want to do in our free time. In that case, maybe like if you like a sport and you love playing that sport in your free time, now it's a profession. You like making art on your free time, now it's a profession. That's different. Most of us don't have that luxury. So your job shouldn't be who you are, because that's not something you can do on your free time. But I mean, like, for example, if you're the mailman, I'm just throwing this out as an example. It could be anything, and that is your job. That becomes your identity. Well, you can't do that on your day off. Deliver mail. You know what I mean? If you did, you'd probably get fired. So the point of it is that your hobbies really are a display of who you are as a person, and the more that you have more mellow or actual hobbies. They don't have to necessarily be mellow, but they're actual, real hobbies, not things like shopping, traveling, eating. Um, then you have that to sustain you not only after you retire, but also as far as if you're in a relationship, you're not putting that pressure on someone for them to be who you are. Like, you don't you don't want to feel like my identity is this person's partner. And a lot of people sometimes get into that as well, and that becomes like a problem. Um, Another thing too is people thinking that part of, and this is where we're going to go into another dynamic of this about having real hobbies, is some people think hobbies, one of the hobbies to them is the nightlife, especially in big cities. And I'm going to tell you why that's a huge problem. A lot of times now, in this new era, younger people, and going all the way up to people being older, because now everyone thinks that 30 is the new 20 and 40 is the new 30, that they start going to the nightlife that encompasses clubs, bars, lounges, from maybe their mid 20s, and they keep doing it, and they get into that fast life where they go from one person to the next. This kind of thing where people don't really work things out and they just go from one person to the next. I'm not going to dive heavy into that, but the new kind of dating realm where things are just very fast paced, but you get used to that from that nightlife, that club life, and you think that that's a hobby. That's part of your interest: going out, drinking, having fun, socializing. And I'm not saying socializing isn't fun, but at the same time, in the form of the nightlife, where it's just this fast paced kind of life, that in itself is almost like a drug. And so what happens is, when you make that quote unquote your hobby or your interest, what happens is that you don't know now how to, um, when you settle down with someone to be in a relationship in the dating game, or whatever, you're building something. That is that is your interest. That's your fun. That's your hobby. That's what you consider your hobby. And the problem with that becomes, you can't execute that in a relationship. It's dysfunctional, which is why you'll have some men and women who will say, okay, so tonight I'm going to go hang out with my friends. The guys will be like, "Yo, I'm going to hang out with my boys." The women might say, "I'm going to hang out with my girls. I'm going to a club, a lounge, a party, whatever the case is, and we're going to go have fun." It's very unhealthy, because now that the nature of that goes completely against the dynamic of being in a partnership, because the nightlife, those specific settings, and I'm not referring to you go on a, maybe 8 o'clock at night on a nice family dinner with maybe, your mom, dad, siblings, and stuff like that. And you tell your partner, "Hey, I'm going out with the family to go have a eat." That's not what we consider when we say nightlife. I'm referring to all that places that put you in the light of saying, "I'm presenting myself as single," because these are places where single people mingle to get to know each other. And those kind of places, when you're so used to that being your source of fun, and you continue that while you're in a relationship or in the beginning of a relationship dynamic, it is not only wrong to the other person, but it's a problem for you, because then you don't have a piece of yourself that makes you who you are in terms of like hobbies. So now it's like the nightlife, the single scene, that whole thing becomes you. That becomes your identity. And that's not a healthy identity. I know some people might try to say, "Well, that's who I am, that's what I like." But that concept does not go hand in hand with a relationship. And it doesn't matter how much someone tries to twist it in their benefit, because they want to say, "Well, if that works for me and I find someone who that works with them, then that's fine." But a lot of times, most people are not going to be honest with you. If they like you more than you like them, they're gonna tell you what you want to hear to try to hold you, but really they're like, really don't want this person going out like that, but I don't want to lose them. That becomes very unhealthy for the dynamic of getting a relationship. So I say that to say, obviously, not just the job aspect, of some people might retire and they don't know what to do with themselves. And that causes a lot of people to go insane and keep working. But then on the relationship end of it, you have a lot of people who don't know how to sustain a relationship because they don't know how to stay calm, sit in one place with real hobbies that occupy their time. You can't have hobbies like that because nighttime hobbies are a social problem to your relationship. They destroy your social dynamic, and that's hurting on the social level. Then quote unquote hobbies like things like travel, shopping, this and that destroy your relationship on a financial level because you can't sustain that. That's not normal to say my source of fun is spending money all the time. Because when you say shopping, essentially what you're saying is my source of fun, my hobby is to spend money. But how much money are you making to be spending it? Most of the time, people are not making that much money to just throw money away. So they're either living on credit or they get with someone so they can enable that continuous hobby, quote unquote, of shopping and spending money, which is a problem because now you enter someone's life as a bill, not as an asset. So just to reiterate, that's why people need real hobbies. And I definitely encourage people to have real hobbies. And for those who are in the dating world, the dating game, you see someone who doesn't have hobbies, you ask them. This is why I feel that that question, when you ask people in the beginning, oh, what do you like doing for fun? Or what do you like doing in your free time? Some people hate those questions. If someone says they hate that kind of question, it probably means they have no interest. Because there are a lot of people who say, I hate being asked those questions. If someone says that, that's because they have no hobbies, no interest. They don't know who they are. If you ask someone that and they answer and they really don't have much to say other than, I like traveling, shopping, or going out to eat, and they say those three things, or any one of those three things, those people don't have hobbies. And they're also going to have, probably most likely you want to stay away from them. They're going to have social problems because their answer to everything is this fast paced life of just spending money and probably going out in nightlife. And that's it. And that cannot be sustained into a normal relationship. That is the very reason why sometimes you have women, for example, will get with guys who are like that, the guys who are in the spotlight, they're always out there, they're living it up, this and that. And then they go, why is that guy can't settle down with me? Because they're not designed for that. And the same thing goes for women. Sometimes you might meet a woman who's in that same kind of spotlight, and a guy might say, man, I want to hold her down, but she's always out there, and I feel like I'm being disrespected. Those people are not meant for long term relationships as much as they want to be, but they more so just want to be a part of everything. But they're not geared for anything. So with that, put in the comments if any of this resonates with you guys. If you know anyone who doesn't have hobbies, if you yourself doesn't have hobbies, if you want to change that, whatever the case is, or some people want to put some suggestions down below in the comments of hobbies people can have, or if you're one of those people who want to learn of new hobbies that you can get into, put that in the comments as well. All you guys take care, be safe. I'll catch you guys in the next video.